Alright, so if you guys ever have a look at Google Scholar, or if you just search Google Scholar and then a topic, a book, something you want to read about, this is a textbook called the Race Tech Suspension Bible. I have a paperback copy of it. I may purchase the digital just because I find that's easier at this point to kind of keep track of resources. But what I'm going to go over here is just the intro. This is a summary. It's not all the pages. You do need to pay for the copy of the book to get all of the information, but that's fair. The people that wrote it put a whole lot of effort into it. So all I'm just going to go over here is just a bit of the intro or summary. So what's the whole point of suspension? Why do you need it? Why do people service this stuff? Why is it on uh, motorcycles, off-road, go-kart, or not go-karts, but motocross bikes, dual sport bikes, motorcycles, cars, trucks, all that kind of stuff. This is in reference to racing, first off, this book. So, and the majority of it's kind of based around motocross. That seems to be the primary focus. And he would starts off talking about how go karts can go incredibly fast without any suspension. How is that possible? Why do we need to add suspension if a go kart can go crazy fast around a racetrack without it? And the main answer is bumps or holes, depending on the condition of the racetrack or the road. The goal of suspension. If we were to describe the ideal suspension, it would never. It would have a maximum traction, minimal harshness, controllable bumping, consistency, meaning it would never fade or change performance over the length of time that it's used. Control the pitch, front to back movement of the bike, and have a feel that inspires confidence for the rider. Note that some other characteristics are contradictory. minimizing harshness, resisting bottoming. That's kind of rider preference, but it also depends on the racetrack or course or type of riding you're doing. Basic goal is suspension. The basic goal of suspension in every vehicle, motorcycle, car, semi truck, of course, uh, cruiser, superbike, whatever the case may be, is different from application to application, but the basic idea is the same: is to be able to absorb bumps or irregularities in the road and still maintain traction and control. So just a couple of definitions to go over. Uh, let's start with definitions of sprung and unsprung mass. So sprung mass is the mass of a spring. This includes the engine, most of the frame, gas tank, seat, rider. The unsprung mass is the mass that goes under or down with the wheel. This includes the wheel itself, the axle, the lower sliders, telescopic forks. So the components of a motorcycle that are below the spring. The two essential components in suspension are a spring and a damper. A damper is a whole other ball of wax, but in the video you're looking at here, you see me reassemble a shock absorber that goes on the back of a motocross bike. That would be the damper, and then at some points in the video you'll see me hold up a spring. It's blue. Um, so that spring is what goes over top of the damper to make a complete assembly to go on the motorcycle. So just one more last little bit to cover. There's a little bit of an illustration here that shows direction of travel, and then the whole idea is to try and have the tire be able to come up, follow the road crown and or the bump, and stay in contact with the ground without losing control. Oscillation is the word you see here in this diagram. That just means that without any damping, a spring would continue to move. Something has to try and control the energy of the spring and stop it from continuing to compress and extend. In general, in a perfect world, the sprung mass should move along in a straight line, meaning all the weight the spring is holding, or on a smooth arc around a turn, and the unsprung mass should move up and down following the ground. Ideally, when going over bumps, the load between the tire and the ground should remain constant with the same load on the upside and the downside. One of the few exceptions to this is Supercross. We don't really need to go into that. Supercross is pretty extreme level of riding. Anywho, this is just a little snippet to add while you watch the rest of this shock being put back together. Hope you enjoy.